Len Carolan, welcome to Coffee Talk here in Port Jefferson Village. Pleasure to have you. I know we've been trying to get together, but I can think of no better opportune time to get together to talk about what you do at LISIC, because we have a special event coming up which benefits LISIC, and that's why I wanted to get you on before that event on December 12th. So welcome. Why don't you give our audience a little background of what LISIC is, what it stands for, and what your passion is there.
So, Kevin, LISIC stands for Long Island Seaport and Eco Center, and the Bayless Boat Shop is just a part of that parent company, basically. We're a nonprofit organization. We're a group of basically retired guys who have gotten together and work on building boats, restoring old wooden boats, and in the past, building kit boats. And we build the boats for people who own the kits. They come to us. They ask for some help. We charge them $150 a month. We put a crew on it, and we help them build their kit boat, basically. Or we restore old wooden boats for either individuals, or we restore them and then we sell those boats.
How old an organization is it?
I believe it started in about 2006, and originally the boat shop was located in the Village Center, the big red building that is now the Village Center.
Okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
But way back, Bayless meant something in terms of a boat yard, wasn't it?
Yes. And I believe it still has the name on the Bayless Boat Shop, the big red building, but it was an important boat building industry, Port Jefferson, back in the day. Mm-hmm. They built a lot of huge boats. And it was part of the local industry.
So this is the early 1900s or even the late 1800s?
I would say even the late 1800s.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's obviously where the name was kept.
That's right.
Brought on, which is fantastic.
That's right.
I didn't realize that you basically are a utility for other people to build boats. That's fantastic. Now you have something called a quick and dirty boat build.
Right.
So that happens pretty immediate. Is that the idea with that? Describe that event.
Yes, that event is a fundraising event for us. And what it is, it's over a weekend. So people sign up, teams of two. We give them the materials, so everybody's working with the same materials. They have the same amount of time to build the boats. On Saturday, they build the boats. They have 5 hours. Sunday morning, they paint the boats with a latex paint so it dries quickly. And then Sunday afternoons, they race the boats around the dock in Port Jeff Harbor. It's a lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, it is.
What month does this take place in?
It's typically the third weekend in August.
Good time.
But that fluctuates due to the tides.
Okay.
You know, we have to kind of work it around the high tide.
So I've been in the building, I've been in the boat shop. What I see is a lot of skilled men, and I'm wondering, how does one become one of these skilled men? Not that I want to do it. I don't have that in my father did, but I don't. Yeah. But I'm wondering, is there a hierarchy, and does one join the club, so to speak? Or, how do you manage that? Is that part of what you do?
Boy, we've pulled the wool over your eyes. We are all novices at what we do.
No.
There are some... a couple of the volunteers were in the construction business, but other volunteers, and really our the best volunteers we have are like John Janasek, who worked for Grumman. We have a couple of guys that have that kind of engineering background, and I'm finding, especially with this project, that's very beneficial for us. That they're the guys that can figure out the numbers and figure out what needs to be done, and then we have the manpower to do it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So the newest project that seems to be keeping everybody busy, and just a roundabout figure of the number of men that work in the shop, in and out.
Yeah. Last month we had 27 guys that had signed in to do work. Now, whether they put in 5 hours or 50 hours,
okay.
We have records of that that we keep with our signing up. But typically now we have about 25 guys that are in there all the time doing some work with us.
Excellent. The newest project, very excited. If you could tell us how this project came about and what stage you're in now and what the goal is. It's called the Whaleboat 1776 Project.
Yes. In February of 2022, Chris Ryan, the village historian, approached us at the shop, and he asked if we would be willing and able to build a replica whaleboat, 25-foot whaleboat. So
what was the first reaction?
First reaction was like, oh my God, that's big. But pretty quickly we got together with the board of directors and we talked about it, and we thought, yeah, we can do that. It's going to be new to us and challenging, but we can do it. So we told Chris that, yeah, we'd go for it. So he had a specific whaleboat in mind. It was drawn by the naval architect, William A. Baker. So we did some research. We found Baker. It turned out that he had drawn those plans for the Darien and the Huntington, actually for the Darien Historic Society, Darien, Connecticut. And they were building that boat for the 200th anniversary of our nation. And then the Huntington Historic Society got a copy of it, and they also built the boat for the 200th anniversary of our nation. And they used to actually race their whaleboats. So Walter, John, and I went up to Darien. We saw the whaleboat, and we were trying to get their plans so that we could do our boat. And it turned out they had 2 of the 3 pages. They didn't have the pages with the offsets, and I'll touch on that in a minute. Then we went to the Huntington Historical Society, and the same thing happened. They had 2 of the 3 pages, but they didn't have the offsets. And it makes sense because that page with the offsets is what gives you the numbers that you need to do the lofting. Lofting is the big platform we had. That you actually then what you're doing is you're taking the plans and you're making them life-size. So that from the life-size, you can make templates. From the templates, you put them on the timbers, and you can cut the wood to build the boat.
Just the way it would have been done.
Just the way, well, yes, just the way it would have been done for the 200th anniversary in 1976. In 1776, they just built boats.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I mean, they probably had some sketches, but they just built
Just
boats.
went for it.
Yeah, and they had the timbers.
Right.
There are a lot of big trees around.
Right.
So they had plenty of timber to do what
So if they made a mistake, they had...
Well, and if they made a mistake, they fixed the mistake.
Right.
It wasn't that they were looking for a boat that was classy. They just needed a boat.
Seaworthy, strong.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
That could maneuver, that they could use. Yeah. So they weren't concerned with how it looked or if it was perfect or not.
Okay.
So at any rate, we looked up William A. Baker, had a lot of trouble getting some information. Finally, I found that his family had donated all his works to the MIT Museum. Now, this was during COVID. So I contacted MIT both via email and by phone and never got a response. And I tried a few times, and this went on for months now. So then I ended up getting in touch with the Mystic Seaport, figuring, they probably work with this museum all the time, MIT and drawings. And sure enough, they knew the museum, and they gave me the name of the person to contact, and they actually contacted that person for me first, and then the connection was made.
Wow.
Once we communicated, we had the drawings within weeks. And then we ended up sending copies to both Darien and Huntington.
Oh, that's nice.
So they would have complete copies.
Oh, that's nice.
Also.
Yeah. So a future boat builders, organizations, they'll have it. That's fantastic. How big a boat is this? And let's explain to the audience that it's not necessarily a boat to hunt whales with. It can be, or it was, but that's not what the term means.
Yeah, and that's a misconception. I'm glad you asked that question. Caleb Brewster, as you all know, was a big part of the spy ring. And he was a whaler. But when the Revolutionary War started, he came back to fight in the Revolutionary War. So our boat is called a whaleboat because it's designed like a whaleboat. It's a double hull.
Right.
But it's smaller. Our boat is just under 25 feet. The whale boats were like 32, 36 feet.
Okay.
So these boats were never used for whaling.
What does that term mean, double hull? Meaning on the outside and the inside is planked? What does double hull mean?
No, double hull means both the bow and the stern are curved up.
Okay.
Okay. In other words, you can go backwards on it.
Okay.
It's almost like a canoe.
Okay.
A canoe is a double hull.
Gotcha. I understand.
Okay.
Yep.
So they were called whale boats because of the design, but not that they were ever used to hunt whales. They were strictly built for the Revolutionary War.
Okay.
These size whale boats to harass and to use in the spy ring, harass the British in Long Island Sound.
Unbelievable.
And to use the spy ring.
Typically, how many would fit in a whaleboat, and is it completely driven by rowing?
No, the whaleboat had a sail, and we're going to have a sail on ours, but it's strictly you put the mast in a hole. And
really?
Yeah, it's not that you have all the rigging to hold it. It's just if there's a little breeze blowing, you can put the mast in, set the sail, and help you row.
And if no breeze is blowing,
then
manpower.
Then you row.
Yeah, and then you row.
Right. And it's set up, Kevin, that that there's 6 oars that we build for the boat, but only 5 are used at a time. And the guys rowing sit alternate. In other words, there's 3 on one side of the boat and 2 on the other, because these oars are 16 feet long.
Okay.
So they come well into the boat. So you couldn't have 2 guys rowing sitting next to each other. There wouldn't be enough room for that. So yeah, they used the oars, but they did have a sail if there was a little wind that could help them get to where they were going. They did cross Long Island Sound often for the spy ring. So I imagine if there was a breeze, that made it a lot easier instead of having to row across all the time.
One single sail?
One single sail, yeah.
Okay, so someone on that boat had to know about winds and navigation.
No.
No?
It was more like a sunfish sail.
Okay.
That's all it is.
That's it.
You know, it's one sail, you hold the rigging,
okay,
and you go with it.
Okay,
Yeah,
wow.
they didn't need experience sailing.
Right.
No.
So it's 250 years we're coming up to, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah.
So from the time that the organization started building the boat, what's that date approximately, and when is the best finish date promise that you have in mind? I know
Yeah.
Would you say we're 30% through this, or what percentage through?
Yeah, that'd be
pretty good, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, by the time we got the drawings, we were into summer, and Chris had approached us in February. So
Right.
you can see it took us months to get the drawings.
Summer of 2022.
Summer of 22. So we actually started September of 22.
Okay.
And when we approached the village and told them of our plan, we told them it would be a 2-year project. So our end point is September of 24. And we're on a pretty good schedule, but I often joke with Walter, he's one of the volunteers, and he made up a plan for us to show people that here's all the stages of the bill we have to go through. This will take a couple of months in here. This will take a few months here, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll have it finished by September 24. But I often joke him because from day one, if we were a little behind, he would just move the months up. You know, I said, well, Walter, eventually that's going to catch up with us, you know. But we're doing okay.
Good.
And the best part, Kevin, is that we have until 2026.
That's right.
You know, I mean, if the 250th anniversary was in 24, we'd be busting our tail.
Yeah.
We have some leeway.
Give yourself some leeway.
And we'll have it done.
So a project like this takes time, energy, know-how, effort, and of course money.
Right.
And so can you speak to, that project budget, and then I'll speak to, what we're trying to do in an event that's coming up.
Great. Yeah. When we visited Darien and Huntington Historic Societies and we saw their boats are no longer seaworthy. So we learned from that, we could build this boat, but we're going to need a shed for it, a shelter, and we're going to need a trailer so that we can get it in and out of the water. And when we approached the village on it, that was part of the deal, that it can't be just we're building this boat and it's done. We also need to get funds and money to build a shelter, to get a trailer, et cetera. So the boat itself, I think the budget for that was about $65,000 for the boat. And again, we're volunteers. Nobody gets a salary. That's just for materials, et cetera. And then the trailer that we looked at, the Darien had, it's about a $16,000 trailer, because the boat is big, 25 feet, and it's heavy.
Yep.
And then the shed, we thought would run maybe about $50,000 to build just a basic shed.
Sure.
A wooden shed, post and beam.
On location?
No,
Probably not. No room
originally the thought was it would be at the Drowned Meadow Museum, but that doesn't seem to work. There's not enough property there to do it. But Lauren had a great idea, and she's pursuing it. That right across the street, where the village, I believe Brookhaven owns part of that. That if we could have put it up, it would take away a couple of the parking lots, but there's a big area of parking there that's hardly ever used. So that might be feasible.
And they're in the middle of, not in the middle of, but they're about to redo it, so it might be a good time.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It might be a good time to apportion that space. When it's in storage, would it truly just be in storage and not, you can't see through the storage, right? That's not the plan.
No, the plan was, especially when it was going to be at the Drowned Meadow facility, that people would go to the museum, and there would be part of the story would be the whaleboat, and then they would go outside and see the whaleboat. That building would also be open to the public when the museum was open, and we're still hoping that works. The other part of it that I had mentioned was early on, Margot, the previous mayor, talked about doing a little documentary on it, to having it filmed as we were building it. So that kind of caught fire. And we've been in touch, and Mike Tesler, who has done some work here, is a past resident of Port Jefferson, raised here. He's on board, and he's going to put together. But that adds a lot of funding to it. But he's in the position that he would get one of these big TV companies to pay for the work.
And then maybe on a History Channel or something like that.
Exactly.
Which would be a great story. Yeah. So at the end of the day, your organization would have the only seaworthy whaleboat as well.
Yes, but our hope was, Kevin, that if there was enough funding, both the Darien and the Huntington could restore their boats. That wouldn't take a lot of money to do. It would take time, but they could restore their boats, because Mike Tesla mentioned, if he could have 3 whaleboats,
he can reenact some things.
He can make it look like there's 30 whaleboats.
Yeah.
But you need a couple
CGI.
of them.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So we're hoping that, again, with some funding, that we can collect a few extra $1,000 and help those historic societies repair their boats to make them seaworthy.
Excellent. Well, regarding funding, I just wanted to let those watching know on December 12th, only a couple of weeks from now, we'll be celebrating the Incorporated Village of Port Jefferson's 60th anniversary, and that will absolutely benefit LISEC in terms of donations of people coming there and some sponsors, and that'll just add to the kettle, so to speak. It sounds like a project which is about between $150,000 and $200,000 when everything is said and done.
Yeah.
Yep. So every little bit counts. Like you said, I think we have the time is on our side, the effort, certainly the ingenuity and talent. So, those watching, I should mention your website, which is lisec.org, and there, correct me if I'm wrong, someone could donate directly there.
Yes.
Or come to the event on December 12th at the Village Center, 5:30 p.m. There's a lot of information if you go to lisec.org, because I do think people don't fully understand this project, and I think it's important that they do. It's fully explained there at lisec.org. Get to know the project and support this wonderful organization.
And Kevin, we're at the shop every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday mornings from 9 to 12.
That's excellent.
So if you want to see it, stop in.
It is something to see. My affiliation with woodworking was, I think, 9th grade. And I was actually very proud of what I made. I made a few things for my mom, and I remember giving her something, but it's so rewarding. I think I made a bowl on a lathe.
Oh, yeah.
And I wish I still had that. Hopefully, maybe she has it, but it's extremely rewarding working with your hands, and then working with wood as well. You know, I do want to show some pictures in the background. I was there when the wood, what do you call the wood that's going to be the side of the boat? Is there a special
Plank. And that's white cedar.
White cedar, incredible. So I'm going to show that in the background just to show people that, you know, this isn't, you're not going to the Home Depot for this. These are trees that are actually cut to length so that the 25-foot boat, correct me if I'm wrong, the plank is one piece?
No,
doesn't have to be.
It turns out that some of these planks are a little more than 25 feet, that we're hoping to get a couple of the bottom planks, the garboard plank especially, that's the lowest one, without having to make a joint. But typically we'll be having what's called butt joints, just square joints on the boat. And we planned on having that on the planking.
When you adhere the plank to the rib, and please excuse my layman terms, what did they use then and what are you using now?
We're going to use rivets, and that's what they used in the 200th anniversary of the boat builds for the historic societies. I don't think, you know, I don't know for sure what they used back in the day. They might have just used wooden pegs.
Wooden pegs.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But you want it to last a little longer.
Yeah.
All right, fantastic. Len, this is a great education. I appreciate you spending some time with us today. Let people know exactly what this project is. Is there anything else you'd like to mention to our viewers?
Yeah, I'd like to say that we mentioned earlier there's about 25, 27 guys that come into the shop each month to work. And it's been a real pleasure working with all these guys from all different walks of life. We come from all different professions, and we work together really well. It's become a second home, and I've made a lot of good friends, not only in the shop, but with the village, with the mayors, with the village center, and Renee at the village center.
Absolutely.
We've been working together now, and that's something that I'm very proud of, that initially we were just our little selves, but now we've
expanded. Now you're
expanded.
an integral part of the village,
Yeah,
for sure.
and it's been great meeting all these people and working, and including yourself, Kev. It's been
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure getting to meet you.
Absolutely. I'm glad we finally got together.
Yeah.
Let's get this out for, again, that December 12th event. Please support this organization. Thank you, Len.
Thank you, Kevin.